You're listening to Three Kitchens Podcast, a member of the Alberta Podcast Network, locally grown, community supported. Now let's get cooking, 'cause I'm starving.
With Pod Power, our sponsors are making it possible for us to amplify the voices of Albertans and Alberta podcasters. This episode, Edmonton Community Foundation is helping us give a Pod Power shout out to Overdue Finds, an Edmonton Public Library podcast.
Bryce Crittenden and Caroline Land host conversations about books, movies, music, pop culture, and other interesting news about Edmonton.
It's a great way to learn more about what's happening at EPL and how you can use your library card to access all of EPL's in-person and online services. To listen and find out more about Overdue Finds, head to epl.ca/podcast.
Welcome to another episode of Three Kitchens. I'm Heather Dyer. I'm here with Aaron Walker and Sarah Somasundaram, my co-hosts. Hi, ladies.
Hi.
Hello.
Good morning.
And we are really excited today because we are talking about making cheese, which is something we've together kind of been talking about. We've been curious about for a little while, and we have a guest with us today who knows all about making cheese. Her name is Alexis Cobham, a self-proclaimed curd nerd, which I loved when I read on your website, who started the business Cheesemaker along with her husband and business partner, Jeremy Bossio. And Cheesemaker is making it possible for anybody to make cheese at home, which is just, it's really cool. Mm-hmm. Thank you for joining us, Alexis. Could you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and Cheesemaker?
Absolutely. Yeah, so I'm born in Victoria, British Columbia. One fun fact, I'm actually one of 7 children. My parents were very adventurous and we would spend our summers traveling around the Gulf Islands. So that was a really fun.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a really neat way to.
Wow.
But yeah, so I did school here and then actually moved to Vancouver, did my degree at SFU. And then I remained in Vancouver. That's where I went to culinary school and where I developed my first business, which was a catering company. And that's where I was part of a business program as well and did a year of business development to learn about what it looks like to become an entrepreneur. And my husband and I decided to move back to the island. We just moved back just in the beginning of COVID around early 2020. So we're just kind of settling back into a new community here. Cheesemaker was sort of created and fostered and grew all throughout the years that I was in Vancouver.
So you said you went to SFU. What was your degree in?
Yeah, I studied English.
Okay.
I did a Bachelor of Arts in English. I didn't actually know at the time what I was doing. Just a young 20-year-old.
I think that's all of us.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought it was something that kind of made sense. And it was just really the experience of being in university. And looking back at, in some ways, I thought it would have been neat if I had done maybe some business programs that you can take. And that's actually something we incorporate a lot in our business. We make sure that we are always hiring young business students to give them opportunities to work in small businesses. And it's a really neat, it's a bit of a mentorship program that we do, as well as part of it is government funded. So it's actually really helpful for us because then we can get these small projects that they can work on and then it advances the company.
And that's a great opportunity for the students as well.
It is. Yeah, they learn a lot. I'm very education focused, and to know that they come from after 3 to 4 years of being in business school, the practicalities of running a business are very much still something that I think they would probably need to incorporate in the curriculum of the business programs, because I think that as much as wonderful it is to learn about how a business is run in theory, the in-person practical applications, since we essentially have become an online business in the last
Right.
years. And so to learn about e-commerce is pretty much the way to go in the future. And we've had a lot of education because Cheesemaker was not an online business whatsoever. It was very much in person. And so that's been a transition that we have made. So they essentially walk away with a very high level of integrated practical experience about all aspects of a business. So it actually feels really nice that they can get that great experience, even just for 4 or 8 months with us.
Mm-hmm.
That's fantastic. And it keeps you engaged in the learning community, I'm sure, and always picking up new things and learning new stuff and bringing in fresh minds, right? That's super helpful.
Absolutely. Especially when it comes to social media. I must say that is not my forte and not necessarily my desire.
Right.
So we have 3 students actually right now, and for our summer program, and we've got them all on TikTok.
Fun.
We've got them making videos every week to build up a TikTok account, and just to find out if that's going to help.
Right.
So was it in culinary school that you first made cheese, or was this something that your family did when you were growing up?
That's a great question. No and no.
Oh.
So it's actually something I learned very much self-driven on my own. However, I did it while I was in culinary school. So after I graduated from SFU, I had a very good friend at the time who actually was living in Calgary, and she was about to buy a farm with her fiance, and she was delving into yogurt making, and she was making butter, and started learning a little bit very slowly this process of cheese making. And so I went on a break, I went to visit her, and I was sort of watching her in this very organic, very artisanal world of making all of these things was from scratch, but with dairy, because she was really interested in starting an organic dairy farm. And so I just sort of kind of got this little basic learning from her. And I was thinking, why aren't we learning this in culinary school as well?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I came back and I just started thinking about yogurt making and butter making, and we had talked about cheese making. So I actually self-educated for the first little while. YouTube was one of my main sources of learning. And I just started watching videos and exploring sort of the early stages. I purchased a few cheese making books. Kind of my Bible was Mary Carlin's Artisan Cheesemaking book, which is a very, very excellent source for a beginner cheesemaker.
Mm-hmm.
And then I just thought, I'm going to do some cheese making sessions. And I think that's a really neat way to learn, is about how to teach others.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started teaching cheese making classes, very small, just to whoever was interested. I've been to Italy and I have done cheese making in Italy. It's such a cultural experience, the different local cheeses, the fresh cheeses that you can make. And I mean, it's a lifelong learning. I am not an expert. There really is no such thing as like a school of cheesemaking that I'm aware of.
Right.
I think it would be so neat to be able to go to school for cheesemaking and to somehow get some form of formal education. I got the opportunity to go back to the culinary school that I went to in Vancouver. It was the Northwest Academy of Culinary School of Vancouver. And I got to go back as a educator and teach everyone there how to make cheese, including the instructors.
Oh, fun.
They recorded me, and now it's a part of their curriculum.
Are there schools for cheese making in other countries?
I haven't done a lot of research. I think that there are programs that you could probably do.
Right.
Often the education comes from owners at cheese shops that make cheese. And so you could kind of do your own internship or entrepreneurship over there with that cheese shop. And that's how you would learn that process. But a lot of cheeses are imported from across the world. So for people that specialize in certain types of cheese making, mostly hard cheeses, aged cheeses, moldy cheeses, because those are things that just take so much time. So for a small cheese shop to really take the time and build the infrastructure for that, it's sort of not that conducive to an actual business model. So
you started hosting these classes, sort of small. How did Cheese Kits come into this, and when did you bring your partner on board?
Yeah, great question. That was definitely not planned. the cheese making classes were going really well, and there was such an interest from people on the side. And it was actually one of the participants in the class that said, I want to keep doing this at home. And I was like, oh yeah, no problem. And I was like, I'll just give you some ingredients and you can take that with you. It actually was her that had informed me, I think there's a cheese making kit in England or something that I heard about can do.
Okay.
And I thought, wow, that's such a fascinating idea. And I think at the time I was teaching maybe 2 to 3 cheeses, just very simple cheeses. I kind of packaged this little thing together, and I added the ingredients they needed, and I threw in a thermometer and cheesecloth and just something really, really simple. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, well, maybe I could build these and sell them at farmers markets, just locally, just again, as like some little initiative on the side. So I just testing it out, to be honest, to see how people would respond. And I started just selling this one kit at farmers markets. And I had a lot of people walk by very confused and said, what is that? Why would I make cheese? I could just buy it at home or buy it at the store. And I was like, yeah, I know. But then I would have these people walk by with the shock and awe and delight on their face saying, I've always wanted to make my own cheese. I can't believe that I can buy it in a kit and do it. And so this was my introduction to learning a little bit about how I could maybe build this business and grow it, and just to learn a little bit about people's histories and experiences and what they're looking for. And to be quite honest, it was just this building of this trend over the last decade that became more and more popular. It has been a complete shift. It's the opposite now. People walk by and no longer do I see their shock on their face. Maybe the occasional person, but most people go, oh yeah, I've heard of that. I'd love to do that. The DIY culture is something that has just absolutely flourished. It was this very natural, slow progression. I started building more kits. And so I started the mozz and ricotta first, the feta second, poutine, because I had just had someone from Quebec, and then cheddar, which was an interesting. That one was a little bit more challenging. It took a little bit longer to test the recipe, build the kit, think a lot about what goes in it. And then eventually the vegan kit, which is a funny one to add to our repertoire because most vegan eaters would not go to a cheesemaking website to purchase our kit. However, in my experience of meeting with people in person, I constantly heard, I would love to buy your kit, but I just don't eat dairy and I can't do dairy. And so it just got me thinking. I'm embarrassed to say, I think it took me about 5 years to learn vegan cheese making because I was a little bit snobby at first.
That's not real cheese.
That's not real cheese.
Yeah.
Exactly. What my husband loves to say is nut juice. He doesn't call
fair enough.
Yeah. I taught myself how to make vegan cheese, and I added it, and I had no idea how it was going to respond. And it's actually become our second best-selling kit.
Oh, wow.
The business grew, and then eventually we just made it all online, of course, when COVID hit. And then to answer the second part of your question is, how did my husband join? Well, I met Jeremy in 2016, and it was just a part of my life. I was actually running 3 different businesses at the time. And Jeremy was in the food and beverage industry, and he was working at Hotel Georgia. He's Italian, as you would probably notice, his name is Bossio. So he has actually in a lot of ways a lot more food experience than I do, and he's also a very good chef. And his dad is a very good chef, and so he learned a lot about cooking from his family. He really is the one that learned it all from there.
And then you guys met, and it made sense.
It did in so many ways because he's such a big personality and is not at all afraid to sell at a booth and learn about something. And so I was so overwhelmed during the Christmas season, and I was like, do you want to sell some cheese kits at a craft fair? Because I have, sort of double booked myself. Like, of course, why not? So he jumped in, and sure enough,
awesome.
he put on his little Santa hat and wasn't at all afraid about embarrassing himself.
That's fantastic.
And it was just like this natural fit. And then eventually we made the big decision, the big shift to leave our full-time positions and start this as a company together full-time. And that was done in about 2018.
So you guys are located in Victoria now.
Mm-hmm.
How far do you send your kits?
Great question. The majority is Canada, within Canada, and quite a lot in the US. So we now a full-time fulfillment center based in Chicago, Illinois, and they fulfill all of the orders that we get in the US. We did our first in-person show in the US this past spring. So we were in Chicago for a week selling, and that was a really fun experience to again be in person, meeting people. China is actually the fastest growing country in dairy consumption currently. So that is also a thought there as well. Teaching people how to make cheese at home based on the milk that they have access to. I'm sure as all of you learned, milk is a very important aspect.
Yes, we did.
That's right. Maybe on that note, we should talk a little bit about our experience with the kits.
I'm fascinated to hear. I love hearing about other people's experiences. I'd love to hear your feedback.
So we were really excited to receive our cheese kits from you, and they were packaged so beautifully, very cute. And then all the stuff that came with it was quite amazing too. And all we had to do was go out and find something called non-homogenized milk, which was really easy to find in the end. We just didn't really understand what that was.
Very common.
In Calgary, we found it at Community Natural Foods, which was, and they even explained it to us the way you explained it in the kit, in the brochure. I did mozzarella, and my heart sank a little bit when you said this was the easiest one. And it was really easy until it came to the shaping part. Everything fell into place. It set beautifully. It was like, I'm doing this, until I had to heat up those cheese curds to a texture where I could stretch it and shape it. I'm not sure I did a great job with it. However, I gotta say it was extremely tasty. My husband wouldn't stop eating it. And I kept thinking, listen, this is for 3 kitchens. Like, you just have to go away.
Leave some of it.
Yeah. And I loved that you recommended that we salt it, because that's my biggest complaint when I get mozzarella from the store is it's so bland. I love mozzarella, but it's so bland. And I love the fact that there was salt in it. I would love to make this again. Each of these kits can make multiple number of batches of cheese, which is amazing.
That I think is my favorite thing and the coolest thing, because as daunting as it seemed when we first started, and it was like, oh man, like I'm making cheese at home. This seems like yikes. But as soon as I finished, I was like, yes, I can do this again and again. And I want to try more. Like, I love that it gives you the opportunity to really hone a skill. Like, it's not just a kit. It's like an opportunity to learn and have like a hobby. Right?
It's an art form.
It's an art, yeah.
And you're not going to get it. It's not going to be perfect the very first time you try it, right? And I remember I said to Aaron, look at this, you can make like 10 batches. How is this economical? I don't know how Alexis is making any money. I mean, it's great for the consumer, but I was like, wow, that's crazy.
It's a constant discussion piece with us.
Right, totally. I would love a little tip on the shape. Like, what texture do I have to get the mozzarella to? What am I looking for? Can you compare it to something that then the shaping becomes easier and not so lumpy in my delicious, but lumpy in my case?
Good for you for doing your best and attempting. The stretching is definitely by far the more difficult aspect of it. It's a balance of heating it hot enough so that it's actually melted, so that when you do start to do that stretching, which is a very, very slow process. It's not a fast thing. You have to really hold. You kind of almost need to do a combination of holding the heat inside the curd as it's melted, and to do a very slow stretch. And as you do that, and then you fold it and then shape it into the ball. Cool. It's a difficult thing to try to teach just with a little booklet.
Yeah, I'm sure. I must have labored over the instructions.
Yeah.
How do we say this? Yeah.
I think I have had 10 different versions of those.
Oh
I
man.
bet.
That was great. I'm definitely trying it again. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Heather, did you want to?
Oh, sure. I made the chèvre, the goat cheese, and now I have a lot of goat cheese because I got sick and I can't share it with my friends. It's all on me, but I got a lot of goat cheese to eat. I found that it was quite, when I first looked at the instructions, I thought, wow, there seems like a lot of steps. But once you get into it and you start like step by step, Erin had done hers first and she told us, she's like, just go step by step. Don't be
read ahead.
overwhelmed.
Don't look ahead.
Yeah, it was great advice because if you just go step by step, it actually is quite clear. Of course, my frame of reference is what I would buy in the store, right? Like
Yes.
what goat cheese have I purchased in the store? And I would say mine is a little softer. Like it doesn't hold the form quite as well that like I tried to make like the logs. So perhaps I could have drained it longer. But I mean, that said, it's delicious. And I did salt it as well. And I debated about putting other flavors in there. And I want to make it again so that I can do that. The first time I thought, I'm just going to make it plain. And I'm going to see how it goes. And I was really happy with it. I thought, it's too bad you guys don't want my COVID cheese. But next time we'll share and I think you'll really like it. I found it was relatively easy to do.
You will all have like a world of experience going into your next batch, and you'll now start to notice the subtleties and the differences.
Yeah. So they gave me the cheddar cheese kit because I once tried to make a cheese at home using a buttermilk to make
Kvork.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I attempted that before. So because I was considered cheese experienced by my they were like, this one says it's intermediate. Guess what you're getting? It was really good up until I didn't go far enough into the instructions for the cheese press that was involved with this one. And so I will now be constructing a cheese press for myself because my makeshift one wasn't great. And I think contributed to my cheese not drying out as much because I kind of had it was quite a heavy weight that we had to put on top, which is good. I had some weights around the house. So I used like 50-pound weights on top to press it at the end there. And because it was wiggling and moving a bit, it was also in a bin. And so I don't think there was as much airflow as would have been optimal to kind of get my cheese to dry. Sure, moisture was pressing out, but then it was kind of sitting in this moist little bucket. Just so that it didn't tilt and shift and move. So
right.
I now have a plan. I'm getting cutting boards when I go grocery shopping next, and I'm just going to use them to make my cheese press because you've got a good picture. And my husband and I are like, oh yeah, we can build that. So I can't wait to like get on the boat again and try this again and do more with it.
I think that was our favorite of the 3 cheeses.
Yeah,
it was really tasty.
That was
fantastic.
The cheddar.
And my first statement was like, why aren't they selling cheddar cheese like this at the store? This is the stuff I want to eat. It was delicious.
I'm the type of person that I want to try and do it better next time. I want to learn more next time.
She really is.
Yeah.
And she will.
And which is exactly why we give you enough ingredients to make multiple batches, because we are very aware that most people doing it for the first time will not achieve the perfect end result. It's just like anything, it's a learning curve, and
like it's still a really tasty product.
Really tasty.
Like you can't go wrong with the flavor that you get out of it.
We say no matter what, you always get some form of cheese, even if it's not perfect.
As we mentioned earlier, Alexis has generously provided the vegan cheese kit for us to give away. So we invite our listeners to head over to 3 Kitchens podcast on Instagram to enter our draw. And thank you again, Alexis, for bringing that for us, for our
pleasure,
for our nut juice.
Well, as someone who, I mean, obviously I eat dairy, I'm talking about it here, but I definitely am a bit sensitive to it. And so it's kind of in moderation and carefully. I don't really have an experience with vegan cheese. And I did consider, I was like, oh, should I get the vegan kit? Because I'm curious about this, especially making it myself, because I just have this idea that it's going to be better, the one you make at home, than the vegan cheese you might buy at the store. I could be wrong, but that's my guess.
Well, so far, all 3 kits have proven
that. So I'm going to guess it's going to be a really good one. That's
It's very easy to convert non-cheese eaters to the vegan kit, and it's not as easy to convert mentally the thought of going from when you can have the real cheese to eating something like the vegan cheese. But I actually am always very pleasantly surprised to find out that people really enjoy the vegan cheese. You can actually slice and grate and melt, and that one is the by far, other than the cheddar, which is really fun to flavor, but it's the best one to flavor, because then you really, it's just a very simple recipe, and then you can add what you want in. Because it's a raw cheese, you actually don't cook it, you just blend it in a blender.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's a very different experience than making cheese, and you literally blend it all together, and then you add your flavors, whatever you like, pour it in the mold and set it for an hour, and then it's done. So it's a very, very, very simple one. So yeah.
Well, listen, if nobody enters the contest,
Yeah.
Right?
we will certainly be making it.
That's right.
But please do, listeners, please enter. Okay. We want to do a quick little fun few questions. Do you have a favorite go-to meal for a busy weeknight?
Gosh, it's got to be pizza. I just love pizza. It's very simple.
Yeah, it's a good one. Okay, how about cake or pie?
Cake, definitely.
Cake.
Mhm.
What kind of cake? I want to know more.
I really like basic chocolate cake with like cream cheese icing on it.
Oh.
It's kind of like it's like a carrot cake, but with chocolate.
Oh, that sounds good. We need that recipe.
Yeah.
What is that?
I just kind of made it up.
Oh, even better. Okay, if you could travel anywhere tomorrow and eat the local cheese, where would you go?
Oh, definitely Italy. It's just, yeah.
If you could only eat one type of cheese for the rest of your life, which one's it going to be?
It's a good one. That's so hard. I don't know. It's a tough competition between Parmesan and Manchego, because just can't go wrong with an incredibly delicious Manchego sheep cheese. I think those are probably, I don't know, I might have to go with Manchego.
Well, luckily you don't actually have to make that choice, so
Yes.
don't stress about it.
So initially, after we made the cheese, we were going to get together and sort of make a charcuterie board, and then Heather didn't feel so good.
Heather just doesn't want to share the goat cheese with
I
us,
think
is what
that
this
may
comes
be
down
it.
to. She's
I
like,
think
yeah,
that may be it.
sorry,
You
we're
guys, I have
sick."
so much goat cheese.
It makes a lot.
It makes a lot. I really wanted to share.
When you have different kinds of cheese with different textures and different, some are really mild, some are sharp, some are stronger tasting. How do you pair wine with cheese or other foods with cheese? Is there like a couple of tips you can give us for, amateurs?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So, a lot of it is sort of your preference. I know you guys were really hoping to do the charcuterie board, which is great because that's the perfect example to use. So, usually you want to have a variety of flavors, right? And you want to have a variety of textures. So it's nice to, I think, offer a variety of cheeses maybe that are less salted, that can be paired with very salty meats like prosciutto, or anything a little bit more hearty, like something like a chorizo that might be really spicy. So it's kind of a neat sort of a thought process of how to do that. And then, of course, charcuterie always incorporates some kind of sweet jam or apricots or dried fruit, which is really nice. And then it's also nice to have that little bit of a crunch, so with crackers or nuts. I'm not a wine expert. Actually, Jeremy is the perfect person to ask that question. I would say that, again, probably just about preference. But when I think of sort of wine pairings with cheese, usually I think like a Cab Sauv or Merlots kind of come to mind, because they're maybe not really very full bodied. And it depends on the experience you're having. If you're doing a wine tasting, you're trying to find something that is going to cleanse your palate for the wine, so that you can experience those different. But if you're actually, the focus is on the food, you don't want a wine that's overpowering or going to mess up your taste buds or take away from the meat or the cheese eating experience. So I probably would select something that's a little bit doesn't have a ton of flavors.
We're going to be doing that this summer.
I think
for
we'll
sure.
just have to try all of the above.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for
Yes,
joining
thank
us. This
you.
was really fun, and we had so much fun with the cheese. When I saw
Yeah.
it like on a Facebook ad, originally it was cheesemaker.ca, everybody.
Your interns are doing good job.
Yeah, and I was like, "What? I've never heard of this. You guys, have you guys heard of this?" And they said no, and I'm like, "I'm gonna contact them because this looks really fun."
Yeah.
So could you tell our listeners where to find you on your socials, on your website?
Absolutely, yeah. Website is the best way. Cheesemaker.ca has all of the information. Our email is info@cheesemaker.ca. We did recently open up DIY cheesemaker.com, sort of for our US side.
And we can find you on TikTok and Facebook and Instagram.
Absolutely, yeah. We have our Facebook account, Instagram, TikTok. We've got videos on YouTube. We've been delving a bit into Pinterest. We do a virtual cheesemaking classes or virtual cheesemaking events for corporations as well. So we use that a lot in LinkedIn for businesses.
Yeah, everybody go check it out
Mm.
and follow them and order your cheese kits because it's a lot of fun. Seriously.
Delicious.
Yeah, more importantly,
Yeah.
delicious. Yeah, and be prepared to have lots of cheese that you're going to share with your friends. It's quite incredible. Really.
Mhm.
It's a community experience.
Yeah, totally.
Well, thank you so much for having me. What a really fun, exciting thing. It's my first podcast, so it's
Yay!
listen.
I hope we made it painless.
Yeah, so easy.
It was so awesome chatting with Alexis. Now we're going to break for a quick ad and come back and find out how we're going to take this cheese and add some stuff to it that you're definitely going to want to eat.
And how we're going to cut the cheese.
Oh.
This episode of Three Kitchens is brought to you by Alberta Blue Cross. Alberta Blue Cross understands that running a small business is tough, and they understand business owners in Alberta are busy.
Let Alberta Blue Cross give you peace of mind with a group benefit plan. They offer health, dental, life, and disability coverage for your employees.
Alberta Blue Cross group benefit plans are easy to manage, anywhere, anytime, and on any device, making it easy for you and your employees to access. To learn more and explore your options, head to ab.bluecross.ca.
Welcome back. Well, sadly, we couldn't all get together and cheese it up.
Cheese it up.
Cheese it up and put it all on a pretty board and then sit down and eat together. But Heather had to go out and get sick. No, I'm just joking.
I did get to taste your cheeses, but we could not get together in a room and put them all on a board.
We forged forward. We still ate a lot of cheese and made some yummy stuff. So
Yeah, we made some yummy things to go with cheese.
Exactly.
Sarah made things with the cheese.
Yes. Sarah made stuff with the cheese. I made things that go beside the cheese or that the
Yes.
cheese goes on. Heather, what did you do with your cheese?
I did a pickle because I like cheese and pickles together. And I did an escabeche, which is a Mexican pickled vegetable.
Oh,
Typically, I think you can use like whatever vegetables you got. I just did a red onion and carrot because that's what I had in my fridge. And the recipe that I followed also had jalapenos, but I didn't have any of those. And so I just did the onion and carrot.
I just want to say that escabeche.
yeah.
Escabeche.
Escabeche.
It's fun to say. So it has coriander and cumin seeds, apple cider vinegar, water, salt, and sugar. Just a quick pickle, but it has kind of Mexican flavors with the cumin and coriander seed.
Okay.
Cut your veggies up small. Bring your vinegar, water, and spices to a boil first, and then put them on the veggies. And it says let cool and refrigerate for at least 30 minutes. Well, mine have been in the fridge now for like a week.
Yeah.
Right.
And they still tasting yummy.
I love the idea of a pickle with the cumin seeds in it. Oh,
And coriander.
And coriander.
And coriander? Oh my.
Yeah.
Okay, now I have to make this too.
Now, if you don't have seeds, you can use the ground spices. I use the seeds because I kind of like that. Oh, and toast them a little bit first. Just toast them a bit in the pot and then add your other stuff to the pot and boil it and put it over. It's really quick. What takes more time is cutting your veggies small. Like I kind of julienned my carrots. So that's it. And it's a delicious little pickle that you can serve with whatever.
That sounds really good. I wish we could have eaten that, but I think I'm going to make that
yeah.
anyway because it's really easy and I have the seeds and I love me a good pickle.
Oh, yeah, that sounds great.
Okay, I didn't actually get to eat all the things Sarah made because my family liked it so much.
Yes.
However, I would like to hear about them because I did see them.
So in the first part of the recording, we talked about how I shaped the mozzarella and, very amateurish, amateur hour. So it was kind of bumpy and ugly. So I thought, how do I hide this? So what I did was I whipped up some egg in a bowl. I dipped it in the egg, and then I pressed it into a mixture of panko crumbs. You can use just regular breadcrumbs and Parmesan cheese. And I pressed it into that. And then I pan fried it. When you pan fried it, like it kind of flattened out a little bit. And I gotta say, I didn't share that one with my family because by the time they got back from their dog walk,
you'd eaten it all?
I had eaten it all. And I'm like you, Heather, I can't eat too much cheese. And I felt that because I just kept popping. It was so good. So
I did get one of those before my kids ran off with them. And I had missed the little package of like a dip. I didn't know it was dip. And I had missed that and they were gone. And then you were like, I texted and you said, that's dip for the cheese. And I'm like, oh, well, whoops. The cheese is gone. But even just like on their own, holy.
Yeah.
I want I want fried cheese like all the time. So good.
So I made that dip, how I make meat sauce for spaghetti, but without the meat. So just your normal celery, carrots, bay leaf, wine, butter, tomato sauce, easy season. So that was the dip for the fried matzo balls. And then I found these little pitas, these tiny little pitas in the store. I don't know if you've seen them. They're like the size of your palm.
Yeah.
Or half of your palm, I guess. I made them into little pizzas. I took some of the sauce and I put it on there. I took some bacon. I boiled the bacon. And then I boiled it down until it started frying and I took it off the pan. And it's a great way to keep your bacon flat.
Oh, I saw something about
without it curling up. Yeah. And then I cut that up and I put that on the pizza. And then I put a little bit of mozzarella on top of that and I broiled them.
Ooh.
And so until they were nice and melty and crispy. And those were little pizzas, I guess, bacon pizzas.
That's what the kids ran off with.
I did not sample those.
They came back and said, are there more? Where's more of this? Because apparently they were really good.
Put the pizzas on a plate and put them on the table and then turned around to get the matzo balls and then add them to the plate. And then when I turned around, the plate was empty. And my kid had 2 really full cheeks. And that's when I made the decision not to share the matzo balls at all. And I was like, yep, that's everything. And crumpled up the stuff and like walked over to where I couldn't be seen in the kitchen and then ate the matzo balls.
Good for you.
With the dip.
I mean, he did not need 4 mini pizzas in his face at once. Come on now. Like, show some restraint.
He ate the first one and liked it so much that I guess the other 3 just flew in there.
He was worried that someone else was going to get him first, so he just went.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly. I was like, oh, let's have this with lunch. Maybe he thought for lunch was what I said. I don't know. That's okay.
Easy to make again.
I like that bacon trick. I want to try that.
Yeah. It's a great way of reducing splatter because you can put the lid on. Yeah. And by the time the water evaporates and it starts sizzling, you still have the lid on. It still will get crispy if you keep going. And then you don't have that splatter to clean up.
Yep.
But I also then gave you the matzo. That was just the plain stuff that I had made. What did you guys think about that?
It was much softer, like not, I don't know, the texture was...
It wasn't rubbery, like sometimes matzo can be like squeaky on your teeth. I don't know how else to say that.
Yeah.
This was like,
it was like melt in your mouth.
Yeah. Did you like the fact that it was salted? When I get mozzarella from the store, it's very bland. right? I like
Yep.
that these were salt, that you could add salt to this.
Yeah.
I actually thought matzo was supposed to be bland because it always is.
Right,
But
right.
clearly it does not need to be.
Does
and
not need to be.
That
Mhm.
was tasty.
In her
Yeah.
kit, she says that they will last for about 7 days dry, but if you want to keep them going for a little longer, then put them in that solution of
So
salt.
I think that made it even
Cool.
tastier.
Mhm,
Yeah. Yeah.
I
The
like
texture and the taste of that was really good, Sarah.
mhm.
Hmm.
Just not the look.
I think that's going to be the hard part about homemade cheese is making it look the way you expect it to look. It's not that
Right.
it looks bad. It's just not what we're familiar with seeing
right.
Yeah.
cheese look like.
Mhm.
I was going to say, I think it's just because we have been trained that cheese comes in a square blocked package.
Right,
Hmm.
How
perfectly.
often
Yeah,
do we ever get cheese that's not manufactured
that's
in
right.
an industrial facility?
With machines,
Yeah.
right?
With
make
machines,
it.
yeah.
Mhm,
And they make it perfectly round or square or whatever.
Exactly. So I would say the look really is less important because the flavor won out
Hmm.
Totally.
by far on these
I
cheeses.
agree. Yeah.
By far. All right, I did a couple things. The first thing I wanted to do was I thought that because this cheese was so sharp and had such an intense flavor, this
Mhm.
cheddar, I wanted to cut it with something acidy.
Mhm.
So I made a tomato vinaigrette from Samin's Salt, Fat, Acid, Heat. It is onions, red wine vinegar, balsamic vinegar, tomatoes, basil, olive oil, garlic, salt.
Mm.
Basic, easy.
Hmm.
So for the tomatoes, what makes it into like a tomato vinaigrette is you grate the tomatoes on a box grater and then discard the skins. And so it like juices the tomato with the
Oh, I
flesh
see.
to make this like really interesting liquid without over agitating. Like I'm sure you could skin and blanch and da 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 to get the tomato, but this was a really easy way to just get all the juice and flesh of the tomato into like
Sorry,
a
you
liquid.
grated the tomato. Did you
Yeah,
have to
You
freeze
cut
it
it in
first?
half
Oh, okay.
and then put it on your grater, and seriously, all the flesh grates away and you're left with the
Oh.
skin. And
Oh,
then
I
you
see.
just say goodbye to the skin or use it for.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it was really, I'd never done that, but it made this beautiful dressing.
Mm-mm-mm.
And so I took that dressing and I just added it to some tomatoes, cucumbers, and chives that I chopped up
Like a salad, kind of.
to just put with your cracker. Because I love when you see a picture of a cracker with a cheese and a little accoutrement on
Yeah.
Oh, very good.
Yeah, very good.
And I will rest there.
And we have teased her about her French before.
And you've
That
teased me
was-
about French before, so I'm just going to take my win. Uh,
Don't get used to it. with our
exactly. This
French.
is the only time I'm going to win this, so we're just going to pretend like it's natural for me. The other thing I chose to make, which I really was on the fence about the night before, I was like, oh, am I going to make a cracker? Because this sounds maybe stupid to take on right now. Making a cracker was so easy. It was like making a pie dough. You mix together your flour and the spices. You cut in butter, or as I like to do, grate butter so that it incorporates in little tiny pieces. You add liquid. You bring it together. It's a pretty dry dough. You roll it out flat on a piece of parchment. You cut it with a pizza cutter, but you don't like need to move it around, and you bake it in the oven for 10 minutes and
Wow.
you have crackers. It was so snappy to do.
Mm-hmm.
So easy to do. I got that recipe online from melissaknorris.com. They separate from each other as they bake. Like, so
Oh,
cool.
funny.
I have never made a cracker before. It was easy to do, and I thought they tasted like wheat thins or better.
Right, better.
Like they were
better.
exactly that type of cracker.
Mm-hmm.
A little softer than a store-bought.
Pretty darn good. Like if you just toast them up again before you put your cheese with it,
Oh, yeah. That'd be
were
good.
really
then they're
yummy.
nice.
We
and
love
crispy.
those. And
Yeah.
you guys know I have a kid who pretty much lives on crackers. Fish crackers are his choice cracker. He will eat, like I am always buying crackers
Mhm.
because he will eat all, if there's no crackers in the house, where's the crackers?
Oh my god.
He was like, where'd these crackers, what kind are these crackers? Where'd they come from? And I said, Aaron made them. And he was like, no, Aaron made? You can make crackers? Now I fear he's going to expect me to make
Okay,
crackers.
so you should do this with him. I think you could play with this recipe and
Yeah.
have a ton of fun with it. And because he is totally capable in the kitchen. He could make these by himself. I'll bet you dollars to donuts. He could roll these out. All you have to do is mix your dry ingredients, grate in your butter, bring it all together with your liquid, roll it, bake it, done.
We'll have to give it a try.
I would say it took me maybe 30 minutes to pop these crackers out.
So my husband started eating this, Erin, with absolutely no permission from me. It was like, which was shocking because usually he's like, "Oh, is this what we get?" Nope. Like it was just like
Husband.
They were delicious. They were delicious, and I think I love the mozzarella. Mozzarella is my favorite, but this cheddar was like out of this world. Like something I've never tasted before. I would never have even called it cheddar.
No.
Because it's not what I'm used to. But it was so tasty, which is why my tummy wasn't very happy with me at the end of that.
Oh,
dear. But I didn't care. I'll still do it again.
Like we have 30 more cheese making opportunities ahead of us with the ingredients that are included in this kit from Alexis at Cheesemaker.
Can you make me more cheddar?
I am going to be making, I see that there's this aging thing. I don't know if I have the self-control to age this cheese as it recommends, but I'm going to try and do one of, like once I make a cheddar that I'm like, oh, I think this is better cheddar than the last. Then I'm going to try and do the, it's got wax to melt that you paint on.
Oh,
yeah. And then you age it.
Oh, interesting.
You can age it for a minimum of 3 months up to a year.
What? And does that sit in your pantry or in your fridge?
In a cool, dark place.
Oh, in your cellar.
I have a little storage room under the stairs that's pretty cool and dark and dry.
Oh, that'd be great to try.
Maybe I will try this.
And with our kits, we can also make, so with the one that Sarah's got, we can make ricotta.
That's right.
And the one that I have, you can also make like cow's milk feta.
Yeah.
So we have options to make all kinds of cheese.
And we want to remind our listeners that there is the opportunity for you to enter if you are in Canada. Sorry, not Quebec.
Yeah, sorry.
Sorry, Quebec. They say you're not allowed. But if you're in Canada and you are interested in making, Alexis gave us a free vegan cheese kit.
Which it promises to be good from the reviews.
Which maybe nobody should enter the contest and we will make the vegan cheese and then just tell you how good it is, because that's how I'd like to see this go. No,
no, we'd like to send
you guys to have the opportunity to make vegan cheese at home from...
It comes with cashews.
Excellent.
Yeah. In case that's important for anyone to know.
And it's really easy, as she said, right?
Yeah,
like
she said this one was foolproof,
you don't
really
cook it or
easy.
anything. You just blend it up.
Yeah.
So if you'd like to, head over to our Instagram page, 3 Kitchens Podcast.
I think what we'll have you do is just tag someone who you think would enjoy listening to the podcast, who's not already following us. And that's it. That'll put you in the draw. Make sure you head over to Cheesemaker and follow them and see what they're up to, because they'll have tips and ideas. And there's also on the website, there's videos and things to learn about. And
if you don't win a kit, or you want to go out and make a cheese, if you want to like experiment with this process, this is the way to do it. She has made it super accessible. Who thought you could make cheese like this in your kitchen? Like mind blown.
Yeah,
I love this.
If anybody makes these kits, let us know. Come back and tell us, or send us an email at 3kitchenspodcast@gmail.com. Tell us your experience making the cheese, because we want to hear about it. It's so fun. And now for the fine print. Remember, when you like, subscribe, review, or share this podcast, it helps more people find us. Thank you so much for listening.
This is the best cheese I've ever had. It's more of a fancy cracker cheese.